The alien princess asked why I feared her. My answer silenced the entire throne room. From orbit, the city looked like a tapestry of lights woven over mountains and rivers that shimmered under the violet sky. Unlike human cities, it had no walls or crowded streets. Instead, towers floated gracefully above the land, connected by bridges of light. The Xylar were known across nearby galaxies for their intelligence, technology, and psychic abilities, and today, Eric would finally meet their leaders. The shuttle descended slowly toward a platform that seemed to hover in midair. The landing zone was empty except for a single, tall figure waiting. Her skin shimmered faintly, and her eyes seemed to hold a depth that went beyond physical sight. Eric immediately recognized her as Princess Lyra, heir to the Xylar throne. Though young for her species, she carried a presence that made the air feel heavier around her, not by intimidation but by focus and awareness. "Welcome, Commander Eric," Lyra said, her voice melodic, carrying an unusual calmness. "We have awaited your arrival." Eric inclined his head respectfully, keeping his hands behind his back in the customary human gesture of politeness. "Thank you, Princess Lyra. It is an honor to visit your world." Lyra's eyes studied him for a long moment, as if seeing more than just his body. She tilted her head slightly. "Your people are different, I can feel it. Tell me, why do you seem uneasy in my presence?" Eric paused. The question caught him by surprise. Humans were often cautious in front of aliens, but he had expected subtlety, not directness. And yet he realized this was exactly why the Xylar were considered wise. They noticed what others overlooked. "I am not uneasy, Princess," Eric began carefully, "perhaps cautious. Your presence is unlike anything we have encountered, but caution is not fear, it is respect." Lyra raised an eyebrow. "Respect can be shown in many ways. Some do so through action, others through thought. I am curious which you choose." Eric took a deep breath, reminding himself of the purpose of this mission. Humans had come far from Earth, not merely as explorers but as ambassadors of ingenuity and creativity. The Xylar saw humans as fragile and unpredictable. They measured strength differently. Yet Eric had come prepared to show them something they did not expect: the value of human mind and heart, not just physical or psychic power. The shuttle doors opened, and a soft light spilled into the air. The platform beneath them glowed faintly, adjusting to their weight as if it recognized their presence. Lyra motioned toward the shuttle. "Walk with me," she said. "We shall speak as we move." As they walked, Eric looked out over the city. The towers were covered in a material that shimmered with every color of the spectrum, but in a way that was subtle and never overwhelming. People moved along bridges without visible support, gliding through the air as though gravity itself respected their presence. Eric could feel their psychic energy, not invasive but constant, a soft hum in the back of his mind. "Your city is beautiful," Eric said, "and very different from human architecture. We rely on practicality more than elegance, though we do strive for beauty in our work." Lyra smiled faintly. "Your people find beauty even in imperfection. That is intriguing. We seek perfection, symmetry, harmony. Humans, it seems, thrive in imperfection." Eric chuckled softly. "We do, and yet perhaps it is our imperfections that allow us to innovate. We must adapt constantly. We must imagine solutions to problems before they even appear. That is the strength of humanity." Lyra's expression remained thoughtful. "Adaptability, creativity. You speak of qualities that your people value greatly. I have observed humans before. You survive, yes, but more than that, you grow, even when the world is uncertain. That is a rare trait." Eric felt a spark of hope. This was the moment he had been preparing for. Human strength was not about muscle nor psychic ability. It was about mind, spirit, and courage. He had to convey this without arrogance, without seeming defensive. They reached the edge of the platform, and below, the city stretched in endless layers of color and movement. Light ribbons connected the floating towers, and tiny flying vehicles moved along invisible lanes. Eric had read reports, seen images, and yet the reality was beyond description. "Do your people trust me?" he asked suddenly, turning to Lyra. She considered the question. "Trust is earned, Commander. It is not given lightly, but I sense a potential in you. Humans have often been underestimated. I am curious to see if your people live up to their reputation." Eric nodded. "We hope to show that our potential is not just reputation. We create, we learn, we cooperate, and we strive to find solutions where none seem possible." They arrived at the entrance to the throne room. The doors were massive, carved from a material that seemed alive, shifting in color and texture. As they opened, a hush fell over the room. The Xyler court gathered here, not to intimidate but to witness. Floating platforms carried nobles and scholars, all adorned in robes that shimmered like the towers themselves. Their eyes glowed faintly, a sign of their psychic sensitivity. At the center of it all was the throne itself, a structure of crystal and light, seemingly suspended in midair. And there, sitting with effortless grace, was Princess Lyra. Eric felt a weight in the room, not of fear but of expectation. Every gaze seemed to measure him, not just as a representative of humans, but as a symbol of humanity's mind and spirit. Lyra rose, her presence commanding yet calm. "Commander Eric," she said, voice echoing slightly as if the room amplified her thoughts. "Your people are said to be clever but also reckless. Some fear humans will bring chaos, others hope for wisdom. Tell me, why did you come here?" Eric stepped forward, keeping his posture straight. "I came to show that humans value knowledge, friendship, and cooperation. We come not to conquer but to connect, to learn from you and perhaps to teach you what we have learned as well." A murmur passed through the court, soft but unmistakable. Even the Xyler, confident in their abilities, were intrigued. Humans were not typically this direct, yet they carried a quiet authority of conviction. Lyra tilted her head. "Words are easy. Actions reveal truth. Will your actions reflect your words, Commander?" Eric smiled, though carefully. "I hope to prove them through understanding, not force. Through dialogue, creativity, and collaboration. That is how humans measure success." Lyra's eyes seemed to sparkle with interest. "Humans are fascinating. Many underestimate you. Yet I sense a different kind of courage in you, one that does not rely on power alone. Tell me, are you afraid, Commander?" The question hit him directly. Afraid, in front of her. Eric thought for a moment. He was not afraid of Lyra herself. But he understood the weight of perception. Humans were often judged as weak, and he had to show that their strength lay elsewhere. "I will answer honestly, Princess," Eric said, his voice calm but deliberate. "I am not afraid of you, but I respect the unknown. I respect the power and wisdom of your people. If my words or actions show caution, it is because I recognize the importance of this moment. Not fear of you, but of misunderstanding." Lyra studied him closely. "Many humans speak of respect, yet few truly understand it. You may be different." At that moment the court grew silent, sensing that something significant was unfolding. Eric realized he had captured not just attention but curiosity. That was more powerful than fear, more powerful than force. Curiosity could open minds, and that was the first step toward true connection. Lyra gestured toward a seat near the throne. "Sit, Commander. Let us talk further. Let us see if your people can live up to the words they speak." As Eric took his place, he felt a sense of responsibility, not just for himself, but for humanity. Today was not just a diplomatic mission. It was a chance to show that humans had value in ways no one expected. That courage, ingenuity, and heart could speak louder than any weapon or psychic power. The throne room, filled with light and presence, seemed to pause. Humans were small, fragile by physical standards. Yet Eric felt a quiet pride, knowing that today the Xyler would see the strength of human spirit, and perhaps a glimpse of what made humanity truly remarkable. Lyra's gaze returned to him, sharp yet thoughtful. "Commander Arak," she said, voice calm but filled with weight, "you will have many opportunities to show your worth, but remember, words and actions together reveal truth. Can your people match their words?" Arak met her gaze steadily. "Yes, Princess, we can, and we will." The court murmured softly, sensing the sincerity. In that moment, the first bridge between humans and Xyler was forming, not of power, but of understanding. And Eric knew that the real challenge had only just begun. The shuttle behind him seemed a distant memory now. The city outside the throne room sparkled like a sea of stars, a world of possibilities. And as he prepared to speak further with Lyra, Eric understood one undeniable truth. Humans were not just visitors in the galaxy. They were a force of thought, curiosity, and unyielding creativity. And that was something the Xyler could not ignore. After the initial introductions in the throne room, Princess Lyra led Commander Eric to a smaller chamber within the palace. Unlike the grandiose throne room, this room was intimate yet filled with light. The walls shimmered softly and delicate holographic projections floated above, showing abstract patterns that pulsed with rhythm, almost like they were alive. "Here," Lyra said, gesturing to a low table, "we will speak more freely. I wish to see how your people think. Humans are clever, yes, but do you truly understand how to solve a problem beyond the obvious?" Eric nodded, careful to show both humility and confidence. "We do our best to see solutions that are not always clear. Sometimes the best answer is hidden until you look at a problem differently." Lyra's eyes sparkled. "Good, then we shall begin." She touched the table, and instantly a small, floating device appeared. It was a puzzle of interlocking shapes, smooth and glowing faintly. "This is a test," she explained. "It is simple in appearance but difficult in practice. Many beings fail to solve it even if they are intelligent. The solution is not found through force or speed or even direct logic alone." Eric studied the device. The shapes rotated and shifted, forming new patterns as he moved them. He noticed that some shapes seemed to respond to intention, almost as if they recognized thought patterns. This was unfamiliar. On Earth, humans relied on mechanical skill and imagination. On Xyler Prime, intelligence was often measured in clarity of mind and psychic acuity. He took a deep breath. "Princess Lyra, may I examine it freely?" "You may," she replied, her gaze steady but curious. "But remember, your approach is as important as your solution." Eric began to manipulate the shapes, not by force, but by observing how they reacted. Unlike humans, the Xyler often tried to anticipate outcomes with mental projection, yet Eric relied on observation and creativity. He noticed patterns that would go unseen if one relied solely on prediction. After several minutes of careful trial, he arranged the final piece, and the device emitted a soft glow, projecting a small light formation above the table. Lyra's eyes widened slightly. "Interesting. Most beings fail because they attempt to dominate the shapes, forcing them into place. You collaborated with them." Eric smiled. "On Earth, we often find the best solutions by observing, adapting, and listening to the problem itself. Sometimes cooperation, not control, reveals the answer." The room remained silent for a moment. Then Lyra clapped softly, a sound that echoed gently like a ripple. "Impressive, Commander. You demonstrate patience and thoughtfulness, but do you have imagination? Creativity beyond what is seen." Eric considered this. Creativity was humans' greatest gift, but it was also their most misunderstood trait. "I can show you," he said simply. Lyra raised a hand, and a second device appeared, this one more abstract, a holographic structure of interconnected lines forming an endless labyrinth. "This is a puzzle for perception and insight. It cannot be solved with a single method. Many give up before they reach the heart of it. Show me what your people can do." Eric leaned forward, focusing not on the physical pattern but on the way the shapes interacted. Unlike the first puzzle, this one required intuition, empathy, and imagination. He closed his eyes for a brief moment, remembering lessons from Earth, how humans had solved problems with collaboration, storytelling, and abstract thinking. He began to move the shapes in sequences inspired by patterns from nature, spirals, waves, and fractals. Instead of forcing the structure into a conventional solution, he allowed it to shift gradually, creating new pathways within the labyrinth. Slowly, the shapes aligned into a form that glowed brightly, almost singing with light. Lyra's jaw tightened slightly. Clever. Rather than solving it with the mind alone, you used perspective. You allowed the problem to speak, and you listened. Eric opened his eyes. Humans have learned that the world is rarely static. Change is constant, and solutions often require seeing what is hidden at first glance. We respect rules, but we are not limited by them. We think beyond what seems possible. The other Xylar observers exchanged quiet murmurs. Some floated closer, curious, their psychic energy brushing against Eric in gentle waves, testing his presence. Yet he remained calm, grounding himself with focus and awareness. His confidence was not arrogance. It was certainty in the ability of humans to adapt and innovate. Lyra leaned back, floating slightly above the ground, her expression thoughtful. You are different from what I expected. Humans often rely on strength or cunning or speed. You rely on observation and creativity. It is unexpected. Most beings here underestimate your people. Eric inclined his head. That is often true, Princess, but underestimation can be an advantage. When others expect less, we have the opportunity to show what humans are capable of quietly, without force. Our strength comes in many forms: imagination, adaptability, cooperation, and perseverance. Lyra nodded slowly, absorbing his words. I see. That is why you do not fear. You recognize that power is not always what appears strongest. You understand subtlety and you understand patience. Yet courage, do you have courage, Commander Eric? Eric smiled faintly. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is acting despite it. On Earth, humans face dangers every day, from natural forces to unknown challenges in our environment. We learn to trust our minds and our instincts, and in doing so, we move forward. Courage allows us to reach beyond what is known. Lyra's gaze softened. She extended her hand, and a small orb floated between them, glowing faintly with shifting colors. This orb contains a challenge of its own. It will show intentions, understanding, and insight. Most fail because they see it as a test of speed or strength. Show me how humans approach it. Eric studied the orb. Its surface rippled with energy, responding to thoughts and movements. He realized that brute force or psychic projection would be meaningless. Instead, he approached it like the puzzles he had solved earlier, by observing, understanding, and cooperating with it rather than dominating it. Slowly, he moved his hands above the orb, letting subtle movements guide the shifting colors. He imagined pathways rather than solutions, options rather than restrictions. The orb pulsed, then expanded into a delicate display of human cultural symbols: art, music, mathematics, and history. Lyra gasped softly. The orb had mirrored not just thought, but understanding, creativity, and the essence of human civilization. You have remarkable perception, Lyra said. It is rare for beings to see beyond immediate logic, beyond force, and into the depth of understanding. Humans, your people, possess ingenuity that cannot be measured by conventional means. Eric inclined his head. On Earth, we are taught to explore, to ask questions, and to imagine. We learn from our mistakes and from each other. That is our strength: curiosity, learning, and creativity combined with action. The Xylar nobles present were visibly impressed. Some floated closer to examine the orb, trying to understand its response. Even Lyra seemed both surprised and pleased. You are proving that humans are more than the fragile beings I had imagined. You are clever, resourceful, and courageous in ways that do not rely on force. Eric smiled. We are all capable of greatness, Princess. if given the opportunity. Our minds and hearts are as strong as any physical or psychic power, and perhaps, in some ways, stronger, because we can adapt and create in the face of the unknown. Lyra studied him in silence for a moment, as if weighing every word. Then she smiled, a subtle but genuine expression. Perhaps that is why your people survive and grow despite your challenges. You see possibilities where others see obstacles. You do not merely act, you understand. Eric felt a surge of pride, not for himself, but for humanity. Here in this chamber on a distant alien world, humans were being seen for what they truly were. Not weak, not fragile, not reckless, but imaginative, adaptable, and capable of brilliance beyond expectation. Lyra's tone became softer, yet firm. Most humans would fear being here in the presence of the Xylar court. Many would falter under scrutiny. Yet you embrace it. You do not rely on intimidation or power. You rely on thought, perception, and insight. That is admirable, Eric nodded. Thank you, Princess. We believe that understanding leads to trust, and trust leads to cooperation. Force may compel, but understanding inspires. That is how humans achieve great things together. Lyra floated closer, the orb slowly dissipating, leaving a gentle glow behind. I am beginning to see the value of your people. Humans have potential that is rarely recognized. I will admit, I underestimated your species, but now I am curious to see how far this potential can reach. Eric felt a quiet satisfaction. The test was not about winning or losing. It was about demonstrating the essence of humanity. He had shown patience, creativity, courage, and understanding, all qualities that the Xylar valued, even if they were expressed differently than their own methods. The chamber remained silent for a moment, filled with unspoken acknowledgement. Lyra spoke finally. Your people are unique. I sense that humans are capable of achieving far more than many in this galaxy believe. You may be small, yet your minds are formidable. I look forward to seeing how your ingenuity unfolds. Eric bowed slightly. We will not disappoint, Princess. Humans value collaboration, curiosity, and courage. That is how we thrive, and that is how we hope to contribute here. Lyra's eyes softened, a rare warmth in her gaze. You have given me much to consider, Commander Eric. It is not often that a visitor from another world shows such insight and understanding. You may yet prove that humans are a species to respect, not simply to observe. Eric smiled, sensing the first real bridge forming between humans and the Xylar. That is all we hope for, Princess, to be understood and to learn in return. As he left the chamber later, Eric knew that this moment had set the stage for much more. The Xylar court had witnessed human ingenuity firsthand, and a subtle shift had occurred in their perception. Humans were no longer just distant observers. They were thinkers, creators, and problem solvers capable of earning respect through intellect and heart. And Commander Eric understood something else. The true adventure had only just begun. After the test of wit, Princess Lyra led Commander Eric through a series of corridors that glowed with soft light. Each hallway was decorated with subtle, floating patterns, moving slowly as if alive. The air was fragrant with a scent Eric could not identify, calming yet invigorating. It was clear that Xylar architecture was designed not only for function, but for experience. This way, Lyra said, floating gracefully ahead, I want you to see more of our world, Commander. Understanding is not achieved in a chamber alone. One must observe life in action. Eric followed, careful not to trip on the subtle variations in the floor's texture. Unlike humans, the Xylar moved without apparent effort, their bodies almost floating. Yet, Eric had trained for this moment, aware that he would need patience and observation to navigate both their culture and their environment. They arrived at the Sky Gardens, a massive floating structure high above the capital. From here, the entire city stretched beneath them like a living painting. Bridges of light connected floating towers, while shimmering vehicles glided silently through the air. Gardens floated on platforms that hovered freely, with vibrant plants that seemed to grow in shapes and colors unknown on Earth. Birds, if they could be called that, darted gracefully, their translucent wings reflecting the ambient light. Here, Lyra said, gesturing broadly, you may see the true rhythm of Xylar life. Observe carefully. Our strength is in precision, cooperation, and understanding of our world. Eric took a deep breath, letting his eyes wander over the city and the gardens. There was a harmony here that humans rarely achieved in their own cities. Yet he noticed something subtle, imperfection. Not flaws, but differences. Some plants grew slightly unevenly, some bridges curved at angles unexpected. It was not chaotic, but natural. Humans thrived on imperfection, Eric thought, because it inspired creativity. You seem thoughtful, Lyra observed. What do you see, Commander? I see harmony, Eric said, but also flexibility. Your structures are precise, yet not rigid. Your people move with order, yet they adapt to change. It is beautiful, Princess. It reminds me of Earth in a way. Humans build, yet we also allow nature to guide us. Lyra tilted her head, intrigued. Your people value imperfection. Yes, Eric replied. We value creativity. We learn from differences. Perfection may exist in theory, but progress requires flexibility, imagination, and collaboration. Humans thrive in what others may call uncertainty. Lyra floated closer, her expression thoughtful. Humans often surprise me. I had expected fear or hesitation, but you embrace what is unknown. That is unusual. And courage, you possess it in ways that are subtle yet powerful. Eric smiled. Courage does not always roar, sometimes it whispers. We take small steps forward, not because we are fearless, but because we understand the importance of moving ahead despite uncertainty. That is how humans grow. Lyra seemed to consider this carefully. Perhaps that is why your people have survived, even when faced with obstacles that others could not endure. You adapt, learn, and thrive. You see opportunity where others see only challenge. They walked along a floating path lined with gardens. Some plants emitted soft musical tones when touched, creating a harmony of sounds as Eric moved his hand across the leaves. He noticed how Xylar children played in this space, interacting with the environment in ways both playful and educational. There was no competition, only exploration and learning. On Earth, Eric said, children also learn through exploration. We find joy in discovery. Perhaps that is why humans are so adaptable. We do not fear the unknown, we study it, and sometimes we enjoy it. Lyra's eyes glimmered. Your people find joy in learning, and yet you do not always rely on strength or power. That is intriguing. Most species rely on dominance to succeed. Humans rely on mind, heart, and cooperation. Yes, Eric said. We have learned that survival is not enough. To thrive, we must create, imagine, and work together. That is how we achieve great things. They reached the edge of the Sky Gardens, where a transparent platform extended over the city. Eric felt a slight unease, but it was not fear of falling. Rather, it was awe at the sight below. The city pulsed with energy, not violent or chaotic, but alive in its rhythm. Commander, Lyra said softly, observe how our society functions. Every being contributes. Every action has meaning. Yet despite this structure, there is room for creativity. How does this compare to your people? Eric reflected for a moment. Humans are similar. We have rules, governments, systems. Yet creativity is what drives us forward. Even within structure, we find ways to innovate. Our strength is in diversity, in perspective, and in collaboration. We learn from each other, and that makes us strong. Lyra seemed impressed. Diversity, yes, that is a concept difficult for us to fully embrace. Our society values harmony and predictability. Your people find strength in differences. That is remarkable, Eric nodded. Diversity allows for adaptation. We see possibilities that others may miss. We understand that every perspective has value and we build on that. That is how humans solve complex problems, sometimes in ways that are not obvious at first glance. Lyra floated silently for a moment, observing him. You speak of subtlety and observation, yet your words carry conviction. That is rare. Many beings are bold in action but lack insight. You combine both, Eric smiled. We learn to balance thought and action. We know when to move carefully and when to act decisively. That is the key to achieving results without unnecessary conflict. It is a lesson hard learned on Earth, but it serves us well in many situations. Lyra's gaze softened, as if she were seeing not just Eric, but the essence of humanity through him. Perhaps that is why humans can survive in environments that others cannot. You do not rely on power alone. You adapt, create, and think. That is admirable. They continued walking through the gardens, reaching a small platform where a fountain projected water in intricate patterns. The streams formed shapes and symbols in the air, responding to touch and movement. Eric reached out, letting his fingers trace the shapes. The water responded, shifting fluidly, creating new forms. Your people value interaction with their environment, Lyra observed. You do not merely live within it, you engage with it. That is unusual yet insightful. Yes, Eric said. Humans learn by engagement. Observation is important, but action allows us to understand more deeply. We test, explore, and imagine. In doing so, we grow. Lyra tilted her head, intrigued. Growth through engagement, that is a philosophy we value intellectually, but your people practice it naturally. That is impressive. Eric felt a quiet pride. It was not for himself, but for humanity. Here on a distant world, humans were being understood in their true essence, not as fragile beings, but as creative, adaptable, and insightful. Lyra floated closer, her expression both thoughtful and gentle. Commander Eric, your presence here is enlightening. You demonstrate qualities that many Xyler do not fully appreciate. Humans, your people have potential that is underestimated. I am curious, how far can your ingenuity reach? Eric met her gaze steadily. Farther than many expect, Princess. Humans are capable of remarkable things when given the opportunity. Curiosity, creativity, and cooperation allow us to achieve what may seem impossible. That is our strength. Lyra smiled, a rare warmth in her expression. Perhaps that is why your species thrives despite challenges. You do not merely endure, you learn, adapt, and create. That is extraordinary. They paused at the edge of the platform, overlooking the city once more. The sun, or whatever Xyler equivalent, illuminated their sky, cast soft light over the towers, bridges, and gardens. Eric felt a sense of connection, not just with Lyra, but with the Xyler people and with the broader universe. Commander, Lyra said softly, your words and actions reveal much about your people. Humans are clever, resilient, and imaginative. You may yet prove that your species can contribute greatly to this galaxy, not through force, but through thought, creativity, and understanding. Eric nodded. That is all we hope for, Princess. To learn, to share, and to grow together. Strength is not only measured in power, it is measured in understanding and cooperation. Lyra's eyes held his gaze for a long moment, as if weighing every word. Then she spoke, a subtle smile forming on her lips. You are remarkable, Commander Eric. Few visitors achieve what you have here. I look forward to seeing how your people can shape the future, not by dominance but by insight and innovation. As they returned from the Sky Gardens, Eric knew that this day had changed something. The Xyler had begun to see humans not as fragile observers, but as partners in thought, creativity, and ingenuity. The bridge between worlds was forming, built not on power, but on understanding, respect, and the potential of the human spirit. And Commander Eric understood something else. The real challenge was not in proving strength, but in showing that humanity's mind and heart were its true power. The throne room glowed softly with iridescent light as Commander Eric and Princess Lyra returned. The large chamber, suspended above the city, seemed almost alive, as if it had absorbed the energy of countless conversations and decisions made within its walls. Every step Eric took echoed faintly against the smooth, shimmering floor, carrying with it the weight of human presence in an alien world. The court had gathered once more, the nobles and scholars floating gracefully on their platforms. Their eyes glimmered faintly, a sign of curiosity and attentiveness rather than authority. Lyra floated to the center of the room, her gaze sweeping over her council, then resting on Eric. "Commander," she said, her voice calm yet commanding, "you have shown patience, creativity, and understanding. But now I must ask you directly. Tell me, why did you fear me?" The room fell silent. Every member of the Xyler court seemed to lean in, not physically but with their minds, sensing the significance of the moment. It was more than a question. It was a challenge, a probe into the essence of humanity itself. Eric stood tall, feeling the weight of the question, not as pressure but as an opportunity. Humans often measured strength differently than other species. Courage, creativity, and insight were their true power, not brute force or psychic dominance. He took a slow breath and allowed his answer to form carefully. "Princess Lyra," he began, his voice steady, "I did not fear you as a being. I respected your presence, your wisdom, and your abilities. If anything, I feared the assumptions that others, including perhaps your people, might make about humans. We are underestimated often, judged by what we appear to be rather than what we can truly achieve." The nobles exchanged subtle glances, sensing that this answer was not a simple statement. Lyra's eyes, wide and penetrating, studied him with interest. "Continue," she said softly. "I feared that if humans were seen only as fragile or limited," Eric continued, "our potential might never be recognized. We rely on curiosity, creativity, and cooperation. We face challenges not by domination, but by understanding, problem-solving, and adaptation. My fear was not of you personally, Princess, but that the universe would underestimate what humans are capable of." A gentle hum of recognition passed through the court. The Xyler had always valued intelligence, precision, and psychic insight, but here was a species whose strength lay in subtlety, imagination, and resilience. These were qualities that could shape entire worlds, yet they were often invisible to those who measured power in conventional ways. Lyra floated closer, her gaze unwavering. "You speak boldly, Commander Eric. Your words are measured, yet they carry conviction. Many would falter under such scrutiny. You embrace the unknown with clarity and courage." Eric inclined his head respectfully. "Courage is not the absence of fear, Princess. It is choosing to act despite it. Humans face uncertainty constantly, whether from the environment, challenges, or even our own limitations. We do not rely on power alone. We rely on creativity, understanding, and collaboration. That is how we thrive." The nobles observed quietly, their curiosity growing. Some whispered among themselves, not audibly, but through subtle psychic communication. Eric could sense their fascination. This was unfamiliar territory for them. Humans were not beasts of war or purely logical thinkers. They were thinkers, dreamers, and innovators who could approach problems in ways the Xyler had not anticipated. Lyra's expression softened, a rare warmth crossing her features. "Your people are remarkable. I see now that your value cannot be measured in the ways my court has traditionally measured beings. You are subtle, adaptable, and capable of insight that even some Xyler might overlook." Eric allowed himself a quiet smile. He had spoken not only for himself, but for all humanity. This moment was not about personal achievement. It was about showing that humans had strength in thought, heart, and creativity, and that these qualities deserved recognition. "I am honored by your words, Princess," Eric said. "But humans do not seek praise. We seek understanding. When we are understood, we can contribute our best, not through force, but through ingenuity, cooperation, and learning together with others. That is our true power." Lyra considered this, floating silently for several moments. Then she spoke, her voice carrying a calm authority that filled the room. You have proven that words and actions can reveal truth beyond appearances. Humans are not weak. You are not fragile. Your courage lies in your mind and spirit, and that is extraordinary. The court remained silent, absorbing the weight of her words. Eric felt a quiet energy in the chamber, a recognition that humanity's value was being acknowledged. It was a powerful moment, not of dominance or victory, but of mutual respect and understanding. Lyra continued, her eyes locking onto Eric's. Commander, humans are often judged by what is visible: strength, speed, psychic ability. Yet your people demonstrate qualities that transcend these measures: creativity, adaptability, empathy, and insight. These are the traits that shape civilizations, not weapons or power alone. Eric's heart swelled with quiet pride. Yes, Princess. Humans grow not by conquering, but by learning, imagining, and cooperating. We build bridges where others see gaps. We find solutions where others see obstacles. And we do so not because we are fearless, but because we understand the value of curiosity, perseverance, and collaboration. Lyra's lips curved into a small smile. Perhaps that is why your species survives and even thrives in environments that others might find hostile or limiting. You do not merely endure. You transform challenges into opportunities. That is admirable, Eric nodded. We strive to do our best, Princess. Every challenge is a chance to learn, to grow, and to find new ways to succeed. Humans do not fear the unknown. We embrace it and learn from it. That is how we make progress. The room remained quiet, the weight of Eric's words sinking in. The Xyler court had witnessed diplomacy, wit, and creativity in action, and now they saw human courage and ingenuity laid bare. Lyra's eyes shone with appreciation, as if seeing the potential of a species she had underestimated. Commander Eric, Lyra said, her voice soft but firm, your answer has done more than silence doubt. It has revealed truth. Humans are capable of extraordinary insight, ingenuity, and perseverance. Your presence here has proven that your species is formidable in ways not measured by force or psychic power. Eric felt a quiet warmth at her words. Thank you, Princess. That is all humans hope for, to be seen for what we are, and to contribute what we can, not through domination, but through understanding and cooperation. Lyra nodded, her expression thoughtful. The universe has underestimated humans for too long. Perhaps it is time to see you not as fragile observers, but as partners in thought, innovation, and discovery. A subtle murmur of agreement passed through the court. The Xyler nobles had seen demonstrations of human creativity, insight, and courage, and their respect was growing. For Eric, this was a victory not of force, but of recognition, proof that humanity's strength lay in intelligence, heart, and the ability to adapt and imagine. Lyra floated closer to the center of the room, addressing both Eric and her court. Let this moment serve as a reminder that strength is not always what is seen. The human species demonstrates qualities that are rare and valuable. We will learn from them, and they from us. And in that exchange, perhaps we can achieve more than any of us imagined. Eric bowed slightly, acknowledging both the princess and her words. We hope to contribute our best, Princess. Humans value collaboration, creativity, and understanding. That is how we thrive, and how we can help shape a future of shared knowledge and growth. The court remained silent for a moment, a collective pause filled with thought and recognition. It was rare for Lyra's people to witness such clarity and insight, and even rarer for a human to convey it so naturally. Eric felt the quiet satisfaction of knowing that human qualities had spoken louder than any display of power ever could. Lyra's gaze softened and she extended a hand toward Eric. You have shown that fear is not always what it seems. Humans do not fear because they are weak. They calculate, they create, and they adapt. They act with courage, not recklessness. Commander Arik, your people have earned our attention and respect. Arik accepted the gesture with humility. Thank you, Princess. That is all humans seek, the chance to show what we can do when given understanding and opportunity. Lyra's smile widened slightly. Then perhaps this is only the beginning, Commander. Let the galaxy see that humans are not to be underestimated. They are thinkers, creators, and problem solvers, and their potential is limitless. Arik nodded, feeling a quiet pride that was not personal but collective. Humanity had taken its first step in bridging worlds not through force, but through wisdom, creativity, and courage. The moment had proven that respect and understanding could achieve what intimidation never could. As the court began to disperse, Arik looked around and realized something profound. This chamber, filled with light, thought, and presence, had become a symbol, not of conquest but of connection and recognition. Humans were no longer outsiders. They were participants in a galaxy that now understood their worth. And for Arik, that realization was far more powerful than any weapon or display of strength. The throne room remained quiet for a few moments after Commander Arik's words. Even the air seemed to hold its breath, as if waiting for the next movement in a story far larger than anyone in the room could fully grasp. Princess Lyra floated to the center once more, her presence commanding but gentle, and turned her gaze to the assembled Xylar nobles. Your council has witnessed the insight of the human species, she began. A visitor who speaks not with threats but with understanding, who acts not with force but with thought, who shows courage not through domination but through creativity and heart. The nobles exchanged subtle glances. Many had underestimated humans before, assuming their intelligence and adaptability could not match the Xylar standard. Yet here, in this chamber, they had seen the truth. Humans were different, but that difference was their strength. Lyra's voice softened as she looked back at Arik. Commander, your presence has changed my perspective. Your people possess qualities that our civilization has not fully appreciated: ingenuity, perseverance, and the ability to see possibilities where others see obstacles. It is time that your species be recognized not as outsiders but as partners. Arik inclined his head respectfully. Thank you, Princess. Humans hope only to contribute, to learn, and to grow alongside other civilizations. We do not seek dominance or power. Our strength lies in understanding, cooperation, and creativity. Lyra nodded thoughtfully. Then let it be known that humans will be welcomed into the fold of this world, not as subjects or inferiors, but as equals. Let their minds and hearts guide their path alongside ours, and let this be the start of a new chapter for both our peoples. A ripple of quiet approval passed through the court. Though Xylar were rarely expressive in ways humans might recognize, their attention and mental focus carried a clear message. Respect, curiosity, and willingness to engage had been earned. Commander Arik, Lyra continued, her tone warm but firm, you have proven that human courage and creativity are as formidable as any other force in this galaxy. Your people are capable of much more than even they may realize. I invite you to remain here to share your knowledge, your perspective, and your ideas. In return, we shall share ours. Together, we can achieve what neither species could accomplish alone. Arik felt a quiet surge of pride, not for himself, but for humanity. This was a moment that transcended any personal accomplishment. Humans had been given a chance to be seen not for their physical abilities, but for their intellect, heart, and imagination. It was a recognition long overdue. Princess Lyra, Arik replied, humans are honored. We accept your invitation with gratitude and humility. Our species thrives not through domination, but through cooperation and understanding. Together, we can explore new horizons, solve problems, and create a future that benefits all. Lyra smiled, a rare and gentle expression that softened the glowing light of the throne room. Then let this be the beginning of a partnership founded not on fear, but on respect, not on power, but on potential. Humans have earned a place among us, Commander. and I look forward to seeing what they can accomplish." Eric allowed himself a moment to breathe. For years, humanity had been considered fragile, unpredictable, and underestimated by countless civilizations. Here, in the heart of the Xylar world, that misconception had been shattered. It was not brute force or psychic dominance that had earned respect. It was patience, intelligence, creativity, and courage in the face of the unknown. Lyra gestured toward a large, floating map of nearby star systems. "Commander, your people may begin to share knowledge with our scholars and engineers. Ideas, inventions, and concepts that your species has developed over millennia are welcome. We, in turn, will share our discoveries and philosophies. This exchange shall mark the dawn of a new era, where learning and collaboration are valued above power." Eric studied the map, noting how the Xylar had cataloged star systems with precision, yet had sometimes overlooked unconventional routes or solutions. It was clear that humans, with their creativity and ability to see patterns in unexpected ways, could contribute greatly. "We will do our best, Princess," Eric said. "Humans have a natural curiosity that drives us to explore, understand, and create. We hope that by sharing our perspectives, we can enhance not only our understanding of the galaxy, but also our ability to contribute meaningfully to the civilizations around us." Lyra floated closer, her eyes thoughtful. "Curiosity is indeed a trait I admire in your species. It is rare to see beings who are willing to question, to observe, and to imagine solutions beyond the obvious. That is why humans are remarkable, not in strength, but in insight, adaptability, and perseverance." Eric nodded. "That is exactly how humans approach challenges. We rely on observation, collaboration, and imagination. We do not see obstacles as limitations, but as opportunities to learn, grow, and create something new." The Xylar nobles whispered among themselves, their interest piqued. It was rare for a species to demonstrate such qualities so naturally, without pretense or aggression. Humans had shown them that courage and creativity could open doors that raw power could not. Lyra continued, addressing the entire court. "Let this day serve as a lesson. Let all who doubt the potential of humans remember what has been shown here. Strength is not always measured by force or psychic power. True strength lies in understanding, adaptability, and the courage to act despite uncertainty. Humans embody these qualities, and they are worthy of our respect and partnership." Eric felt a deep sense of fulfillment. This was not about victory or personal acclaim. It was about recognition and trust. Humanity had earned a chance to participate in a larger galactic community, not through aggression, but through intellect, heart, and ingenuity. "As a symbol of this new alliance," Lyra said, floating toward a glowing pedestal, "I present a shared project between our peoples. It will combine human creativity with Xylar knowledge, forging a path forward that neither species could achieve alone. Commander Eric, will your people join us in this endeavor?" Eric stepped forward, his posture firm but humble. "We will, Princess. Humans are eager to contribute, to share our knowledge, and to learn from the Xylar. Together, we can create solutions and innovations that benefit all civilizations." The pedestal glowed brighter, responding to the energy of agreement between human and Xylar intentions. A soft hum filled the room, not loud or alarming, but resonant with the idea of cooperation and shared purpose. The court observed silently, absorbing the significance of the moment. Lyra's voice rang clear, carrying to every corner of the chamber. "Let it be known that from this day forward, humans and Xylar shall work together, not as superior and inferior, but as equals. Let knowledge, creativity, and cooperation guide us in the challenges ahead. Let this partnership be a beacon for the galaxy, showing that understanding and respect can achieve what conflict never could." Eric allowed himself a quiet smile. Humanity had been given a chance not just to survive in the galaxy, but to contribute meaningfully. Their ingenuity, curiosity and courage had earned recognition, and this alliance represented a new era of cooperation and shared discovery. As the session concluded, Lyra approached Eric privately, her expression gentle yet thoughtful. "Commander, you have proven that humans are more than the sum of their physical abilities. Your species thrives on thought, creativity, and courage. I hope you understand how significant this is, not just for your people, but for the future of the galaxy." Eric bowed slightly. "Princess Lyra, I understand. Humans have always believed in the power of curiosity and collaboration. This moment is not just an honor but a responsibility. We will continue to show that our strengths lie not in domination, but in innovation, understanding, and cooperation." Lyra smiled. "Then go forth, Commander. Let your people see that the galaxy is full of opportunities, and that humans have a role to play not through force, but through heart, mind, and courage. The path ahead is bright, and your people are capable of shaping it." Eric left the throne room feeling a sense of accomplishment unlike any he had experienced before. Humans had often been underestimated by other species, their potential ignored or dismissed. Here, on Xylar Prime, that perception had changed. Through insight, creativity, and courage, humans had earned respect and, more importantly, a chance to contribute. Outside, the city stretched endlessly beneath the violet sky. Bridges of light shimmered, gardens floated gracefully, and the air was filled with subtle energy. Eric gazed at it all and realized that this was only the beginning. Humanity's journey into the stars was not a journey of conquest, but of discovery, collaboration, and creativity. As he prepared to report back to Earth, Eric knew that humans had proven something vital. Their true strength was not in domination, but in intelligence, empathy, and the courage to face the unknown. In a galaxy full of powerful beings, these qualities set them apart. For the first time, humans were not just visitors. They were recognized as partners in shaping the future. And Commander Eric understood that the story of humanity in the stars had only just begun. With a quiet sense of pride and determination, he looked toward the horizon. The sky above Xylar Prime shimmered with countless possibilities, and Eric knew that humans had the potential to explore, innovate, and create wonders far beyond what anyone had imagined. And in that moment, Commander Eric understood a truth that would guide humanity for generations to come. Their courage, creativity, and understanding were their greatest strengths, and these qualities could change the galaxy without a single act of violence. The new alliance between humans and Xylar was not only a symbol of cooperation, it was a promise. A promise that through thought, heart, and ingenuity, the two species could achieve greatness together. And as the sun, or whatever illuminated Xylar's sky, cast its gentle glow over the city, Eric smiled, knowing that humanity had finally begun to be seen for what it truly was, a force of curiosity, creativity, and endless potential.